So today we are going to answer a debate that has been raging for about 150 years, and that is, what is the best weapon for home defense? Welcome back to Bullets and Brass, folks, and good news and bad news. The good news is we're going to talk about it. The bad news is there's no easy answer, and this debate is still going to be going on as far into the future as I can see. The exact three weapons may vary, but there's going to be some form of narrow focus long gun, wider focus long gun, and handgun. Now, they may be firing energy projectiles, they may be firing flechettes, I don't know, but the basic concepts are going to hold. Now, let's get some myths taken care of. The shotgun does not clear the whole hallway, much less the whole room. At normal indoor distances, with buckshot, your group is going to be about the size of a fist. So you still got to aim. Now, if you wing somebody, as in, you just hit them on, your center of your shot is just across their arm, say, it's still going to fuck them up because a good chunk of that just ripped their arm apart. So in that sense, yes, it has an advantage in the spread of the group. But none of this, just send a blast down the hallway and you're good. Bullshit. I've linked 2 videos in the description below that talk about this, that demonstrate this. One focuses initially on short range and then opens it up. The other one, you can see that even at 30 or 40 yards, he's still getting groups that are not that big. If your house is big enough that you have 30 or 40 yard shots indoors, you probably have your own security team. Just saying. That said, at realistic home defense distances, the shotgun is extremely devastating. A solid hit with the shotgun is pretty much a end of show for whoever you hit. Jokes aside, hysteria aside, it really does take a chunk out of you. It is a devastating weapon up close. But as you'll see in the video that I linked where Mr. Guns and Gear is demonstrating it, he is a large, strong, very well-trained individual. And you can still see the effect of recoil. He's not firing magnums. He's firing standard 2 3/4 inch shells, 9 pellets. These are nothing crazy. So if you translate that down to the average home defense shooter, there's going to be a lot of training needed to be effective with that and to get consistent second shots off and so on, relative to, say, an AR-15, which is the rifle of choice in this scenario. And if you want to use a different rifle in the same category, we're not arguing specific rifles. The AR-15 is just the most common, so that's what I'm going to refer to. I think that the advantage of the rifle is faster follow-up shots, easier recoil management in weird body positions, which is key because in home defense you are not going to be always in range perfect, ready to go body position. In fact, you probably never will be. Handguns are also good for that, but the skill level required for the handguns is higher. The time required to maintain that skill level is higher. And under stress, that skill is harder to use than on a long gun. A long gun is easier to point at a person and not be completely using the sights and still make a good hit. A handgun, it's really easy to miss. I will say that I think that there's a few things that, no matter what setup you're using, are important. You need some way to be able to take your hands off of your firearm. A holster for the handgun, slings for the rifle or shotgun. I think that is very important. I also think having a light is very important, whether it's a light on the gun or a handheld flashlight you are practicing using in conjunction with the firearm. And lastly, I think that body armor of some sort is important. Home defense scenarios where you are clearing an area of your house, because I do not suggest clearing your whole house. I suggest clearing as little as you need to secure the other individuals in your house. So if you're getting your kids back to the master bedroom, or you're just taking yourself to their bedroom, you want to move around as little as you have to. You are not the police. But in general, trying to clear a structure on your own is a bad idea. You are probably, if you're watching this video, not a highly trained expert. If you are a highly trained expert, you're aware of how bad an idea this is, right? It is just not something that you are supposed to do alone. Particularly not after the most likely scenario of being woken up out of your sleep. No preparation, you went from 0 to go in a moment. That is not, you're not at your peak. This is not, hey, I've got a team around me, I'm fully kitted out, I've mentally game planned this, I'm ready to go. And I've had 4 coffees, right? That's not the scenario. You are way better off doing as little room clearing as you have to do and defending the position. Make them come to you. Make them screw up coming around that corner, right? So with the rifle, we're talking an AR-15. I put it into 2 categories. There is the 16-inch AR with a standard stock, and there is a short AR. This could be an AR pistol. This could be an SBR. It's just as short as you can go. In the video, I'm going to show you, you're going to see me do it with a 16-inch AR, and then the shortest SBR/AR pistol, in this case it was an AR pistol, setup that I could come up with. It is several inches shorter than my SBR setup, where I've got the suppressor on it, even though the barrel is longer. And I think that's key. It's the overall length that matters, because as you're going through a doorway, or if you're trying to clear, you're working the pie, you're slicing that pie to get as much visibility cleared as you can, the shorter barrel gives you more room to work. Rooms are not wide open. They're not an empty shell, right? There's things in the way. There are doors where they're up against another wall, so you've got to try to clear, and you're almost in the doorway trying to clear in one direction. The shorter the barrel, the better that is. The other thing to remember is to switch arms, transition the rifle from left to right as necessary. It drastically changes how much you can clear, as you're seeing in this video. Handgun, it works better than the rifle or the shotgun if you need to open a doorway. If you need to go through a doorway where you cannot see, because you can come through a doorway with a handgun and be leading with the handgun in line with your face through that doorway. So the minute you see something, you can shoot if you have to. The rifle, most doorways, you have to lower the rifle to get through the doorway. So when you actually transition room to room, you've cleared as much as you can, but you at some point have to go through that doorway. If they're along the wall further down where you just couldn't see, the longer the barrel, the harder it is to clear that. The handgun, you can get that in close to your body, come around the corner, and the minute you've got line of sight, your gun is on target. It's an advantage. The light, I didn't demonstrate it in the video just because it was kind of spur of the moment. There are multiple ways to do this. There is, offset, you're holding the light up out of the way so it's not in line with your body. There is having the light on the weapon. There is having the light in line with the weapon. There are, between the fingers. There's all sorts of different techniques. They have different values. My suggestion is to have a separate light and a weapon light. I don't think the second light needs to be particularly powerful. To me, that's the light to help your kids get where they need to go. It's to, identify something, that is on the floor. You don't need a ton of output. The weapon light, I'm going to point it at the target and turn it on and ID that target and hopefully blind it while I decide whether to pull the trigger or not. You're not turning it on and leaving it on. It's on-off. And for that, honestly, I don't want more than about 80 to 100 lumens. The idea of a weapon light with multiple hundreds of lumens indoors is a recipe of blinding yourself. If you've ever had a dark room face a light wall. Most of us have light colored walls in our houses, right? Face a light colored wall 10 feet away. Turn that light on, aimed at that wall. Now turn it off. Can you see? Probably not. So if you turn that light on, you're clearing your bathroom, say, and you blind yourself in the mirror with that 200 lumen weapon light, you're fucked. Now, I am not a house clearing expert. I'm not a house clearing instructor. I am firmly suggesting that if you take this seriously, you should, at the very least, do some research. There are manuals on this. There are videos about it. At least go that far. Learn what you can learn, open source, and then practice it. And honestly, if your family is on board, practice it with your family. Because you may consider things like, my wife stays in the bedroom with a shotgun, and we have a code we're going to use so that I can come into that room without getting shot. And this can't be a one-way code. This needs to be that I'm saying something, she responds so that I know she heard me, and then I enter the room. Or did we both move to the children? And if there's, say, multiple rooms with the children, one is going to remain with the first child and defend that position. And then the other is going to move to the second child and defend that position. And do we consolidate? Yes, no. What is the situation? What is the scenario? Is there a position where it makes more sense to then consolidate to another location or one of those locations? And again, have a communications ability so that you can confirm it's you before you move into their line of sight. Training is always important. I'm not going to suggest anybody particular, but there are a lot of companies, a lot of individuals who, let's face it, we just had 20 years of kicking indoors. There's a lot of guys who got a lot of experience doing this and got extremely good training. They are teaching these skills. Now, that said, do vet whoever you go to for training. Some of these guys don't really know what the fuck they're doing, or they're just bad instructors. They might be very good at doing it, but they're not good instructors. So do your due diligence there. Make sure the training you're getting is good. Honestly, if your training doesn't include actual force-on-force practice with paintball guns, airsoft, something, I don't think it's particularly good. This is not something where you want to do a dry run kind of thing where your opponent is a static target. That's how you start. But if you're doing this with your opponent can move, think, react, hear you, and respond, that's the important part. That's the real training. And I've done this with paintball, and you'd be amazed how difficult it is. It really reinforces the concept of, if you're doing this alone, you are going to get shot. If the other person is paying any attention, you are going to get shot. You might get them too. Your odds of getting shot are high. If there's two of them and there's one of you, you're toast. Absolutely, you're toast. You may be the world's best, and they can be horrible. The odds of you succeeding are very slim. You are not John Wick. Okay, you're just not. Even if you played him in real life, you're not John Wick. You don't have Hollywood magic on your side. You're gonna get shot. This is where the body armor comes in that I suggested. The body armor makes it so that when things go wrong, maybe you get another try. Even if it leaves you hurting, assuming you had soft armor and they shot you with a handgun. Well, you shot them, they shot you, you're not dead. And maybe you can get a shot on the second guy. Maybe that you fall back behind the doorway that you were just going through and you just wait. And you're hurting, you're licking your wounds, but you're not out of the fight. If you're wearing hard armor, great. If you got shot with a handgun and you're wearing hard armor, you're probably not out of the fight at all, right? How many home invasions involve them coming in with rifles? Pretty few. If you're not a bad guy, Pretty few. So, learn to use your gun, both hands, left and right-handed. Learn to transition with that sling. Practice it over and over and over and over and over. Keep in mind, you're going to have to lengthen that sling, and you're probably not wearing it the normal way. When you need to be able to transition, you are probably not only just lengthening that sling, but you're taking it out of your normal position and you're leaving it just looped around your neck. Because otherwise, it isn't going to be long enough to easily transition. You may be able to use it in the other position, but it's not easy to get back and forth. This is something you need to practice, you need to be experienced with. But not having that sling puts you at a severe disadvantage. My preference is the shotgun is not involved. I think that the shotgun is more training, more issues than benefits. Not saying that's a bad choice. I'm saying that for me personally, I don't have a ton of practice and experience with shotguns. So my skill level with them is much lower than my skill level with an AR. It is a sad moment, folks. We're out of chocolate milk. If you are much better with the shotgun, go that route. Just keep in mind you have less capacity. You have an 18-inch AR, or a shotgun, which is roughly the same size as a 16-inch AR, maybe a little shorter, right? Shotguns tend to be a little more compact. That's still pretty long. If you have an SBS, great. You can shorten that up. And you will get more spread out of an SBS. But in practical terms, it's what are you most comfortable with? What do you own? If all you own is a handgun, say you own a P365, you own a Hellcat, what do you own? Practice with that. Think through what you're going to do with that. Then think about how you can improve this. Because if all you have is that compact handgun with an 8-round magazine, you definitely want to reload. Maybe 2. And then you want to think, hey, maybe it's time for that rifle. Maybe it's time for that shotgun if you're a shotgun guy. But if you are a smaller person or even just average sized and you don't get a lot of practice in, the rifle's easier than the shotgun. But if you have to reload, a shotgun is more difficult to do under stress. If you have, say, 5 or 6 rounds in your shotgun, your odds of needing to reload are higher. Still pretty slim. Let's face it, in these scenarios, by the time you fired a couple rounds, it's probably over one way or the other. Either they've gotten hit and they're down. They've run away because you just blew the crap out of the hall wall next to them and they were like, we're out of here. Or they shot you. I mean, this is the likely scenario. One of those 3 things happened. Don't do a Biden and send a shotgun blast off your balcony. That is not just a felony, it's also stupid. So the biggest flaw with the handgun alone is the skill level needed to use it effectively under stress. And we see this time and time again, and it is why police departments emphasize that their officers use a long gun when they can, because the ability to put hits on target under stress is massively higher. So thank you for watching. Take care, guys. Have fun. Stay safe. Get some training and buy ammo.